So I'm continuing my reading of these standard works. One second. And what I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as time goes on. Right now, I am reading still in the book of Genesis. We are on chapter 43. So let us start. Chapter 43. Jacob is persuaded to send Benjamin to Egypt. Joseph's brethren make obeisance to him. They all eat and drink together. A quick recap here, of course. Joseph has been made ruler in Egypt after 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. All the land is affected. Egypt, Canaan, the surrounding areas, they're all coming to Egypt to buy corn because of Joseph's storage of corn. Jacob sent his older sons. Joseph accuses them of being spies. He puts Simeon in prison and sends the rest home, but tells them not to come back unless they bring Benjamin with them. So that's where we're at. Let us look at here, verse 1. And the famine was sore in the land. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up all the corn which they had bought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, Go again, buy us a little food. And Judah spake unto him, saying, The man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. And if thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, Ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. And Israel said, Wherefore dealt ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? Now, I just feel Jacob's pain here. He's saying, we need more food. You need to go back to Egypt to get us some more food. And Judah says, we can't. Not unless Benjamin goes with us. And Jacob's thinking, why did you tell him about Benjamin? Why didn't you just keep silent on that point? But, verse 7. And they said, The man asked us straitly of our state and of our kindred, saying, Is your father yet alive? Have you another brother? And we told him according to the tenor of these words. Could we certainly know that he would say, Bring your brother down? And Judah said unto Israel his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones. I will be surety for him. Of my hand shalt thou require him. If I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee, then let me bear the blame for it. For except we had lingered, surely now we had returned the second time. Now, this is a slight alteration to the story that we read in the previous chapter, because in the previous chapter, they willingly volunteered the information. He accuses them of being spies, and they say, "Oh, we're not spies. We're the sons of one man. There's 12 of us. 10 are here. One's at home, and one's dead." But this is saying that Joseph actually asked them, because remember, Joseph recognized them. Joseph knew who they were. They didn't recognize him. And Joseph spoke to him through an interpreter. So it wasn't just that they were volunteering this information. Joseph wanted to know about his family. He wanted to know about Jacob. He wanted to know about his brother Benjamin. He knew Benjamin was there already. But again, I think it was partly he was testing him, but he wanted news of his family. And so he asked him. And they have, after 20 years, they've repented. They've become good men. And so they answered honestly. They didn't expect any deception. They didn't expect this demand that Benjamin be brought. So they just answered honestly as good men would. And I like Judah's oath here, his covenant here. This sets it up for later on in the chapters. Bear the full responsibility. So, verse 11. And their father Israel said unto them, If it must be so now, do this. Take of the best fruits of the land in your vessels, and carry down the man a little balm and a little honey, spices and myrrh, nuts and almonds, and take double money in your hand. And the money that was brought again in the mouth of your sacks, carry it again in your hand. Peradventure it was an oversight. Take also your brother, and arise, go again unto the man, and God Almighty give you mercy before the man, that he may send away your other brother and Benjamin. If I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. Okay, so Jacob finally concedes. Take him, but I like Jacob's plan. And you can see, we're talking about a famine, but it's not so complete that they don't have some food. Because he's talking about, almonds, nuts, honey, spices. But these were supplemental foods. These weren't the staples. They didn't have any wheat. They didn't have any barley. They didn't have food for the animals. They couldn't make bread, which was your main staple of the day. They may have been able to subsist barely on what they had, but they weren't totally without food. They were just at the point that they were in a kind of slow starvation because they didn't have any grain. So they send a present. They also take the money back that was returned to them. If you'll recall in the last chapter, when they got back, they found that all the money they had given to buy corn was back in their sacks. But not only are they taking that money back, but they are going to take, again, enough to buy more corn, but twice as much as they did before. So it would appear that they're taking the original plus another twice as much, so this would be 3 times as much as they did the first time. As I said, just in case the Egyptians accidentally put it back in your bags, we want to make sure that they know we're honest. So, now, verse 15. And the men took their present, and they took double money in their hand, and Benjamin, and rose up, and went down to Egypt, and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the ruler of his house, Bring these men home, and slay, and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, Because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time are we brought in, that he may seek occasion against us, and fall upon us, and take us for bondmen and our asses. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him at the door of the house, and said, O sir, we came indeed down at the first time to buy food. And it came to pass, when we came to the inn, that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight. And we have brought it again in our hand, and other money have we brought down in our hands to buy food. We cannot tell who put our money in our sacks. And he said, Peace be to you, fear not. Your God and the God of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money. And he brought Simeon out unto them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house, and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave them asses' provender. And they made ready to present against Joseph came at noon. For they heard that they should eat bread there. Okay, sorry, I messed up a little bit in that, but the basics of what's going on here, Joseph sees them come. He sees Benjamin with them. And before he even talks to him, he tells the steward, look, prepare a meal at my house, bring them to my house, we're going to have a feast. And when they're brought over to Joseph's house, they're thinking, wait a minute, this guy's going to arrest us. He's going to make us all slaves because of the money. The money was back in our sacks. He thinks we stole it. That's when they get to the house. They say, look, we brought the money. It was a mistake. We didn't mean to. Something happened. But we brought the money back, and we also brought some more to buy food. But the steward says, we already have the money. You paid us. We've got it. There was no mistake on our end. And Allah says, your God gave you this blessing. Don't worry about it. He releases Simeon, and they all get ready. He says they wash their feet. Very common thing. You're supposed to wash your feet before you sit down to eat because they didn't have chairs. You would sit on the floor or on cushions on the floor. The table was low down. So when you sat down, your feet would actually be somewhat close to the table and would be very close to the next person. And so you'd wash your feet so that you would be a little, you didn't have the stinky feet near the table. But they also says they made ready the present against Joseph came in. In other words, once they were all ready to eat, they also got out the present and put it kind of on display on the table. They got it ready so that it was ready for Joseph to accept. Now let's see how much longer is this. We'll finish it off. Verse 26. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them for their welfare. Or he asked them of their welfare, and said, Is your father well? The old man of whom ye spake, is he yet alive? And they answered, Thy servant, our father, is in good health. He is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother, of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. And he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself, and said, Set on bread. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination unto the Egyptians. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one at another. And he took and sent messes unto them from before him. But Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him. Okay, just a couple of things here. Of course, Joseph, he inquires after Jacob. He talks about Benjamin, but he has to leave. He steps out to his bedroom, and he weeps for his brother, because he wants to embrace Benjamin. He wants to take him in his arms. He wants to show his affection, but he can't, not yet. So he sneaks off to his bedroom. He weeps, but then he washes his face so that they don't know he was crying. And once he's composed himself, he goes back in. And you know the seating arrangements. Joseph is by himself, probably up to the head, kind of. And then you have the brothers off to one side, and the Egyptians off to another side, because they can't share a table together. The Egyptians, according to Egyptian custom, could not share a table with the Hebrews. And it appears that this custom still applied to Joseph, even though he was the ruler of Egypt. He respected this custom, and he ate by himself. He did not require the Egyptians to eat at his table. Again, we see Joseph's consideration. So there's that. But then the best part, I think, is hilarious. Well, first, he gives Benjamin 5 times as much food as everybody else. That's kind of funny. But he sits the brothers according to age. The oldest is sitting closest to Joseph, down the line to Benjamin, because that is how it should be. That's the kind of sign of respect, that you give the eldest down to the youngest. And the brothers are amazed at this, because he never asked about their ages. They're saying, how did he know that Reuben was the oldest? And how did he know that Levi was the second oldest? How did he know what order to sit us in? And I think it's kind of funny that Joseph's doing all these little things, these little signs that it is Joseph, but the brothers never catch on. So we'll leave it there. See you in the next one.